Hi, everyone. This is Katie with Empowering Astrology, and I'm doing my weekly update here on Facebook Live. So, if you've been following me, we've been doing these weekly check ins of the astrology lately. So, if you are able to join me live, maybe you are not joining me live, maybe you're watching the replay, but I want to hear your eclipse stories. So, you may or may not know, we are now kind of coming out of eclipse season. This time every 6 months, that the set of our life changes. We go into a new act, and so you might have felt that the past couple of weeks were the start of a very new story. So if you have any eclipse stories to share, please do. And I see that Sarah is here. Hello. Yeah, we're just about to step into Leo season. It will be at 10:50 p.m. New York this evening. That's gosh, remember I can't do math on the fly. Just it was at 7:50 p.m. in Los Angeles this evening. But I wrote about this in my update today on Facebook, that when we get to the last degree of a sign, and this could be a day like today, today's the last day of Cancer season, or this could be a couple months if it's, let's say, an outer planet that's just kind of sitting at the last degree of a sign. This is a day to kind of think back, to reflect. We are wrapping up a story that began on June 21st with the solstice and the beginning of Cancer season. And even though we are stepping out of Cancer season right now, we still have what's called the North Node in Cancer. So we're still learning about emotional connection. We're still learning to open up our hearts and to kind of gather the people close to us who are family or like family, because that's what Cancer teaches us. It's like the kind of that archetype of the mother. So this is, we're kind of halfway through this larger 18-month story where we have to really start to break down these old walls and learn to connect with one another. Because at the end of the day, human beings are social creatures. We can't be isolated. We can't be alone. I know some of you might be still like that, but I think at the end of the day, that's how our brains are hardwired. So we need that connection. We need that softness, that touch. So I'm just looking at the comments. Sarah's eclipse season was way too messed up to write it all here. Eclipses, it's not always bad stuff. It really does kind of mark the story and mark the narrative. And maybe you moved in with a partner. Maybe you had like a promotion at work. Maybe you are in the midst of a move. I mean, I know moves can be stressful. I think for me, it was kind of seeing a lot of I don't know, pats on the back in a way, like doing a good job, which was great because, this has been, the last 4 months have been some of the biggest of my life. I'm in the midst of a big transition. I'm doing astrology full time. So I got some really wonderful feedback from you all, and I appreciate that some of the work that I'm doing, it's really touching you all. So that was like my eclipse story. So what's your eclipse story? Maybe you go back and you look and you can see that something is subtly shifting for you. Speaking of stories, we began a story back in March of this year. So March of 2019 is when the planet Uranus went into Taurus. It is going to be in Taurus for the next 7 years. That's a very long time, but it's not uncommon for an outer planet, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, to spend 7, 10, 15, 20 years in a sign. So, thank you, Judy. I see your comment. So with now Uranus is in Taurus, some of us may have had some big shifts back in March. So the reason I'm mentioning Uranus and Taurus, because is that once the sun goes into Leo, it's going to start making what's called a square to Uranus. And so what does this mean? in English. This means that we are kind of coming up to that first step since March, whatever these new changes that Uranus brought into our life. And Uranus is like, hey, what's going on? How are you shaking up your life? How are you kind of breaking out of these old ruts, these old molds, these old comfort zones? So for me, I quit my day job in March, which was not kind of planned for it to line up with Uranus and Taurus. I know I'm an astrologer. Usually that's my job, but it just kind of so happened that it lined up that way. So this is for you all. Maybe something began back then that you can point back and say, okay, that's what that was. And maybe for some of you, you're not so sure. But for me, it's going to be this check-in with this major shakeup I did in my life back in March. For all of us, it's important to understand that Uranus is a planet that wants us to come out in a way. It doesn't like us to be a false version of ourselves or to kind of keep things bottled up. And that was a theme the past couple of weeks with clients. Kind of the message that kept coming through from Spirit is that there was a lot of us, I'm sure I'm in the same boat too, is that we kind of contort ourselves into shapes that don't fit us anymore. So here comes Uranus. And if you are a Taurus, maybe you know this very well, you are reinventing yourself. Even the Leo is watching, which I know there's a Leo watching right now, or your Aquarius, or your Scorpios. I'm a Scorpio. This is a time when some part of us needs to come out. We can't kind of squish ourselves into something that doesn't fit us anymore. So this is important to go back and to kind of look at what is not quite fitting you anymore, and maybe that part of your life is getting touched on this week. I'm just seeing that Debbie wrote that so many changes since March and shaking things up. Yeah, if you are a Taurus, you are reinventing yourself. So you might know this very well, and same for Leo. For Leo, this is all about career. You are reinventing career. I've had so many Leo rising clients in the last 2 weeks. Aquarius, this is about home. Scorpio, this is about relationship and also how you interact with people. I mean, for me, I spent the better part of my life, if not the better part of the last 10 years, doing astrology, just doing it very much behind the scenes. Nobody really saw my face. So here comes Uranus. Hi, I'm here. I'm on video. I'm interacting with you all. And Uranus was like, stop hiding. Okay, roger that, Uranus. So we can see that we have to make some big changes right now. But, going into Leo season, I think it's important to put it in context, what we're stepping out of. We're stepping out of eclipse season. We're stepping out of Cancer season. So, we're going from this element of water, Cancer, to fire. Water is about emotions and feeling. This is why I said that over, 2019 with the eclipses, the North Node in Cancer, it's so much about opening our hearts, so much about a connection. So that's the water element. But then something like Leo is fire. Leo is the sun, ruled by the sun. So Leo season is going to be a bit different than Cancer season. One, just by the nature of its element, fire, it wants to move, it wants to express, it wants to create things. Leo is a very creative sign. This is a side note. There was a while where I kept getting an angry email from a Leo telling me that I didn't understand, I was writing all about Leo, I was writing about Leo all wrong, which I thought was hysterical that it was a Leo that kept emailing me. But Leo, it's about creativity. You are the sun, you are the sign of the sun. The sun is about being seen. The sun is about bringing life to everything. So yes, Leo, you might not be a very creative person, or you might be a little shy person. It's not about you having to be on the stage, but it is a sign that at the end of the day needs to be seen. in some way. Every sign of the zodiac teaches us something about life and teaches us something about ourselves. So this is why every month when the sun goes through a different sign, that we are learning something different about ourselves and we're learning something different about life. Cancer, home and family, roots, memory, nostalgia, instinct, emotional core. And then we go into Leo. It's about the self, persona, identity, creativity, talents. So we can all do that in a lot of different ways, not just on the stage and not just with the art, but it's another thing that keeps coming up in client readings, I think pretty consistently, is how much of us are repressing parts of ourselves and how much we are repressing these talents that maybe we remember we did as a kid, but as an adult, we've become very distant from. Like when I was a kid, I played piano, I did art, I self-taught myself things, and in a way I've moved away from that. And so I think I've attracted a lot of Leos into my life recently, and I feel like that's the universe's way of reminding me that I used to do all this art. So maybe at some point I'm going to return back to fine art, but that's me getting on a tangent. But I think it's really important for you all to really figure out what creativity means in your life over the coming 4 weeks while the sun is in Leo. I'm just going to check in on the comments. Robin asks, elaborate on why Aquarius is home. So for Aquarius, this might a little bit of a technical point, and then I'll explain. Leo is what's called your home sign. It forms Taurus. For with Uranus going through Taurus, Taurus is Aquarius's home sign. It's the sign that talks about roots and family and foundation. And you have a planet like Uranus, which is not about keeping things the same, which can be a little unstable, going through the part of the chart that's a foundation. And so things might be shaking up. So that's why I said that for Aquarius, you might be moving, there might be some changes in the home, but I think it's really getting to this kind of bigger, deeper core issue of where are you planted in life, Aquarius. So if there is a change in where you're living, it might speak on something much deeper. So that's my quick little thing. Looking at some other comments, looks like somebody lived a lot of life. Leslie, Nikki, looks like you had a lot going on in your during your eclipses. I know that you had some changes in your career as well. So just looking at other comments. Oh yes, thank you, Leslie. Yeah, one of the things about being an astrologer, I don't want to always be be right about potentially some things shaking up with the astrology in your chart. That's one of the things about eclipses, is that they are pretty much, not a guarantee, that's maybe the better way of putting it, but like eclipses are an astrologer's toolbox. If you know an eclipse is coming, you know that something about that person's life, or maybe even your own, if you're looking at your own chart, is changing. Eclipses change the narrative. Like I said, one act of a play or a drama coming to an end and another one beginning. And oh no, hi Kath, thank you. Thank you for your kind comments. Yeah, we worked together a few weeks ago. But to bring us back to Leo season, again, this is fire. Again, this is about persona and identity and expressing ourselves. Leo is also about children. And so I think it's a season where we have to remember our inner child, especially if that inner child is a little wounded. I think it's time to go play with our inner self, our inner child, to have fun. Leo is the sign of fun. It's a little bit of a lighter sign. Like I said, this is the next week, because Uranus will make what's called a square to, the sun will make a square to Uranus going into Monday. This is a week where we might be checking in on the story that we began in March, particularly March 6th, which is when Uranus went into Taurus and will be there for the next 7 years. And then going into a little bit beyond, I mean, I know that the astrology of August is not in the same boat as the astrology of July. I would say a couple of things to put on your radar is that we are coming out of Mercury retrograde on August 11th. So I'm not a Mercury retrograder freaker outer. That's a technical term. You can look it up. I try to play it really chill with Mercury retrograde. I see it. I know it's happening. I try not to do anything stupid. I get frustrated when people don't answer my messages or emails, or kind of get a little screwy, but it's the time. But I think that it's important to know that with Mercury going retrograde into the next couple of weeks, we're reviewing our choices, but we're also reviewing the choices and some of the experiences that we had at the end of June. Because Mercury is now rewinding and retracing the steps that it made last, the end of June. So just a few weeks ago. It will station. Station is just a fancy astrology word to say that it will kind of come to, it will look like it's coming to a halt around, kind of going up to the 11th of August. And then it'll make not the 11th of August. It makes a station on the 31st of July. Look, I'm doing a Mercury retrograde. I'm giving the wrong information. So the 31st of July, it will make a station, and it will make a station opposite Pluto. So that might be, going into next week. It's the same day as a new moon, where we have to be very conscientious of how we're using our voice, what we're choosing, how we're communicating, how we're thinking. Pluto has a tendency to pull things up, maybe anything that's been kind of emotions. Mercury will be in Cancer when it stations, so emotions and feelings, but it will get back into Leo on August 11th. That's what that date is. But other things to keep in mind for your upcoming Leo season. Yes, I've master grade retrograde chill. Ask me about retrograde chill when something is not going right, because then I will not be. I was not retrograde chill yesterday. I was ready to throw phones out the window. Hey, I'm human. But going into August, Uranus will turn retrograde on August 11th. Nothing to worry about. Outer planets, they turn retrograde every 5-6 months. They are retrograde for the next 4 months. So we've had this stretch from March until August where we've been going into a new time, new territory with Uranus and Taurus. And then when the planet turns direct, when Uranus turns, retrograde, it's a time to pull back and to reflect on the changes that we've been making since March. So I think in all, and Jupiter will turn direct on August 11th. There's a lot going on August 11th. Jupiter turns direct, 14 Sagittarius. Mercury goes back into Leo, and Uranus turns retrograde. So packing it in on August 11th. But if you're a Sagittarius or if you're a Pisces, what's called your ruling planet will turn direct on August 11th. So kind of this about 3-4 months timeout you've been in. If I'm doing my math correctly, it's now time to move forward. But again, the next few weeks are pretty much about element fire. Element fire is creativity, creation, motivation, action, personality, self-expression, talents. So very different season than we have previously been in with Cancer season. I will say that sometimes we get a little bit of an eclipse echo a month after the eclipses. So it will be probably important to pay attention to what's going on, if we're kind of getting that little reverberation in July and August. Just checking in on some of your comments. Yes, thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate all your feedback and all your eclipse stories. And we're almost in a new season. We're almost in Leo season, just about 5 hours from now on the East Coast. So we're just entering a new element, a new time that's about the self and the expression of self. So this is, like I said, astrology is about learning about ourselves and learning about life through all the 12 signs. So this is why we have different seasons that teach us about ourselves and teach us about what it means to be a human on this crazy planet that we live on. So unless just looking at your other comments, hi Natalia, no, thank you. Thank you all for watching. I think that's pretty much it. I think this week is a little bit on the quiet side. Famous last words. Like I said, Sun comes up to a square to Uranus into the beginning of next week. So again, I think it's a time when we're really looking at some of the big changes or reflecting on the big changes that we've made since March. And like I was sharing, I made some personal big changes. I will also add that Venus goes into Leo on Saturday. I believe that's the 27th. Venus is what we love, what we value, how we socialize and interact. So going into Leo, she moves away from Cancer, a sign of home and family, and into the sign of creativity. So personally, I love Venus and Leo. Venus loves to be loved in Leo, so I think it's a time when we also get to focus on romance and fun and pleasure. So hopefully a little bit of a lighter time after the heaviness of eclipse season, and we could all use a break. Quick shameless plug before I forget. I am teaching a new webinar on August 3rd, and this one is on how to read your astrology chart, aka the birth chart, aka the natal chart. So I always say that your birth chart, so that exact moment that you were born, formed this kind of figure, formed this map. And I think it's one of the most important documents that you can get your hands on. It does mean that you need your exact birth time. If you don't have your exact birth time, it's not the end of the world, but it doesn't kind of give you that precise look. But nevertheless, I am teaching you all how to read it, or at least a crash course on how to read it. So we're going to be looking at the wheel. We're going to be looking at signs and houses and what does it mean when you start to kind of put it all together, planets in a certain house, aspects, the different house systems. So it's meant to baby step you into something. So if you are a beginner or an intermediate student of astrology, this will be a really great way for you to, when you pick up a chart, if you pick up your own chart, you will be able to identify what all these very strange symbols and lines are. I'm going to walk you through it. Like I said, I'm going to baby step you through it. And if you are completely new to astrology, I think it's important that you at least know your planets and know your signs, at least have a working knowledge. Otherwise, you might be a bit lost. But you can go to my website. I should probably put that in the comments. My website, empoweringastrology.com/events. Or /webinars, and that should take you to the link for more information and also registration. Also, another quick housekeeping thing. If you're one of my readers in Spain, and I know you're out there because I see your IP addresses on my stats. If you're in Barcelona, I'm going to be in Barcelona from August 9th to 11th. And I'm going to just kind of doing some feelers to see if anybody is available for an actual one-on-one consultation. I know I've heard from you, some of you, I can't speak, heard from some of you already. So again, if you're in Barcelona or nearby, and I'm going to be having some appointment slots on August 9th, August 10th, and August 11th when I'm in Barcelona. I think I had something else to share. Webinar, Spain, summer, Yeah, going away. So I hope you all are enjoying your upcoming Leo season and have some fun planned. I know that it's not summer for everybody, because I know if you are in South America or Australia, it's a little bit on the colder side. But here in New York, it was 100 degrees yesterday, which is almost 40 C if you are using Celsius. Very hot. So I'm looking forward to getting away, and hopefully you all have something fun planned as well. So until then, thank you all very much. Thank you for your wonderful feedback and your comments and your love and your support. And I really appreciate it. I'm also available for consultations. You can just go to my website, empoweringastrology.com/bookings. I have a booking calendar. You can learn more about my services. I'm also on Instagram, if you are an Instagram person. So I am Empowering Astro on Instagram. So again, thank you all very much for spending time with me, and I look forward to catching up with you all next week. Bye.